times at the Delta or Clear Lake or other, bigger lakes with a lot of grass, and you're fishing a frog and you get a windy afternoon and your frog's skimming across there, and you wish you had something to get some action, because those fish didn't leave the grass.
Absolutely.
They're still there, but they can't even see the bait because it's just flying across the water.
Well, and frogs were designed to be subtle, to slip it in there and finesse and walk it real quiet and stop it and pause it and sneak it up there and he come up and eat it. You need a bait that is able to do that, but at the same time, when you need a bait to throw some water, move some water, cause a disturbance, create a vibration, and again, these fish aren't eating these things because they think they're frogs. Bass, to me, I don't really believe they like frogs at all. There's too many living in the mats. If bass really liked frogs, they would be extinct, as much as bass eat. So these fish think they're birds, they think they're bait, bluegill, a bigger bait because of the size of the frog and the profile of this bait sitting in the water. I mean, you can see a lot of the frogs, when they sit in the water, they start to sink and they float nose high in the air, and the rear end of the frog starts sinking in the water, and bam, your frog's underwater. A couple pops later, it's gone. This frog, the legs immediately spread out. And again, a lot of my baits are focused on when you see fish, because all I can see is when I see the bluegill. And the times I see the bluegill, when they get up close to the boat and they start looking at you, they flex up, put those fins out, they make that tail big, and they kind of stand up and back up. Well, that's what this frog's doing. You pull it and the legs go to the side and it looks like a slimmer profile, but when you pause it and he's looking at it, it could look like a bird with his wings open, or it could look like a bluegill, kind of flexing up like, hey, showing his size. So again, there's a million different ways to do this, to use this bait and to present it to bass. My favorite retrieve goes like this. If you're in open water and you're next to a cover or a piece of cover or a target, I always start with a side-to-side walk. So I'll start walking it out really slow. Then I'll pause it. Sometimes I'll start back in with the side-to-side walk, pause. Then I'm going to give it a little pop, just a little disturbance of water, little pop. If I'm catching them on the bubble, I'll go ahead and bubble it all the way back. If they don't really want it bubbling and they want it spitting and there's small bait in the area, then I'm going to pull it and sweep the rod. And when I sweep the rod, it's going to spit water like a Rico because of the line tie position. So again, you can chug it, pop it, bloop it, spit it, walk it. It is the most versatile frog on the market.
When it comes to throwing a frog, especially like this transporter, the gear you need is essential. I mean, if you don't have the right gear, you're not going to land those fish out of grass. I mean, it's just not going to happen. It's almost impossible to fish a frog without fishing it on braid, especially around cover. So minimum of 50, sometimes I'll go up to 80. Just depends on how long of a cast I want to make.
Does that depend on if you're fishing those big mats or sparse like this, or do you judge the line, base the line on that?
No, the only time I really switch line, I mainly always throw 65, but if I'm catching them like at the Delta or Clear Lake or, Amistad, when the mats get up and you're catching big ones,
right,
and you're fishing like weed mats,
right, and
you're throwing to an isolated target, you don't have to make a real long cast. I'll throw like 80. You can still wing it out there pretty good, but 65 cast pretty well and 50 cast even better. So this sparse stuff, you're not going to break them off on 50, especially a good quality, braided line like spider wire. And then I'm just using a 735 Powell frog rod. I've landed fish up to 13 pounds on this rod and out of mats. So, and the thing that I've kind of got into lately is I'm throwing a 7-to-1 gear ratio, just so when I get those fish, I can winch them out of there fast and keep them from, jumping and stuff like that. So the faster I get that fish in, the less likely it is I'm going to lose that fish. So, what about you? Anything you do different?
You know what? I don't. I love the 65. I use braid only exclusive. I never tie a mono-leader or go apart from the braid. I will go up to 80 like you, and I am a believer that if you're catching big ones and you're around nasty stuff, bigger the better. There is no overkill for big ones because they don't care. They're coming to hurt stuff, break stuff, and leave. They don't want to get in the live well. That's why we made the transporter, to help you bring more of them to the weigh-in. The transporter, again, is available in 7 colors. Everything from Paycheck Baits is going to be available first at Tackle Warehouse. I can't say enough about this bait. It hasn't been available long enough to say everything that it can do. Again, there is no rules. Tie one on, try it, get your heaviest rod, your heavy line, and go to work, man.
Oh my God. Look at that. Good one. Good one. Dude, it's like a 5. Oh man. Transporter. First time I've ever thrown it. Baby duck pattern. You know, that was kind of like sparse grass with a little bit of open water around it, and that little popping sound's really what attracted that fish, I think. So anyway, the baby duck transporter, man. 5 pounders.